Hey everybody, Adam Kokesh here. I served with the Marine Corps Civil Affairs team in Fallujah in 2004 and realized when I came home that pretty much all the reasons behind the war were crap and that none of the troops were fighting or dying for our freedoms over there. And it wasn't an easy realization to come to, but I've been speaking out against our foreign policy, trying to turn my experience into a lesson for the American people, for the world, hopefully to not make the same mistakes that I did. And now, as the host of Adam versus the Man, I'm very excited every time I get the chance to talk to our younger audience members about not joining the military, about finding the things that they think they're going to get through the military through better alternatives, and realizing that signing up to have the government own you and fight and die for Obama isn't in your best interest or even the best interest of America. So I'm very excited to be talking about these issues of resisting militarism, about truth in recruiting or counter-recruiting, but also for guys that are in the military. You know, we have a lot of fans who are active duty, and one of them, Mr Jewell, is actually going through the process right now of seeking conscientious objector status. Now, I know a lot of people, when you're on active duty and you realize that, hey, maybe this is all just a sham, maybe, and you know it. I mean, come on, somewhere deep inside, you know that the wars aren't for freedom. You come home and you see your family members subjected to all the crap that government subjects them to here. It's not working. I mean, if the troops were defending freedom, they'd attack the government. And if the United States military is defending our freedom and we're spending trillions of dollars and putting so much effort into this, you look at the state of freedom in America, sorry guys, gals, overall, you're doing a pretty terrible job. So when you realize that, and you know that it's not an easy thing to accept, I can understand. But when you do, it's much harder to not act on that. It is much harder to sit and continue to be a slave to these bad ideas. So for a lot of guys in the military who realize this, it's simply a matter of realizing that, hey, I'm not going to re-enlist when my term is up. I'm going to get out. I'm not going to go back for another tour. And lots of people are doing this. This is why it's harder right now to fill the ranks than it's ever been. Standards are lower, incentives are higher, things like that. And there's an incredible amount of pressure to keep you from getting conscientious objector status. Now, I wouldn't suggest if you're like 6 months away from the end of your contract, starting a process that might take 6 months anyways. But if you just re-enlisted, or if you just enlisted, or you're partway through a long enlistment contract, yeah, seeking conscientious objector status is certainly a lot easier than, dying in combat. So for people who are looking at those options, I just want to share this letter from myself, because I wrote it for the CO application of Lucas, and I really want to share it, and I want to make myself available to anybody that's facing these issues. So please, if you're going through this and you have some questions, email me, adam@adamversustheman.com. If there's anything I can do to support you going through the conscientious objector process, I would love to be able to help. But in the case of Mr Jewell, this is what I wrote. To whom it may concern, it has been a great honor to know Mr. Jewell and to have been a part of his process of self-education that has led him to the point of seeking conscientious objector status. I have had the opportunity to converse with him often enough to have witnessed his transformation over the last year. Ultimately, it matters not whether his application is approved. He will not be a cog in the machine anymore. He cannot unsee what he has seen or unlearn what he has learned. As you may be so lucky to do yourself someday, he has chosen to shed the delusions of government for truth. Mr. Jewell has realized that war is obsolete. I would hope that mine would have been the last generation of combat veterans the world would ever know, because we would have realized as a species by now that pretending to solve conflict with large-scale violence is barbaric in the age of information. In fact, it's downright embarrassing. It's not embarrassing just for its violence or its destructiveness or its dehumanization, for all those things can be hypothetically justified on the small scale. There is hate somewhere in every human heart, sadly. But what is truly embarrassing about modern war is that, like government, it is a gross institutionalization of all of humanity's worst desires to control, dominate, and manipulate others by force. War is the manifestation of the worst we are capable of writ large, and what is truly embarrassing is that not enough see that it is a racket to stop it. Mr. Jewell has come to see this, and as a result has decided to seek conscientious objector status. Ironically, as part of this process, Mr. Jewell will have to seek the approval of a chaplain. What greater a tragedy than for someone to have to justify his principles before an alleged man of God who has chosen to make a living perverting principles to give divine blessing to sinners. To think you would study the role of a holy creator only to serve those who engage in that great unholy destruction of war. But for any chaplain who would turn to the Bible for a justification for seeking conscientious objector status, I would quote Corinthians 13:11. When I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. To seek CO status is to admit that you are wrong, and that's not easy. Most people in the military would rather live with the discomfort of lies when confronted with the facts. It is easier on the conscience to face facts, and in that sense, Mr. Jewell is choosing the easy way out, but it is no less courageous. The reason so many human beings as pack animals continue to suffer under the delusions of society is that they would rather be a part of the herd. It is painful but comforting to be a beta male in a pack. Some of us would rather be the alphas of our own lives, and it is far more brave to risk being called a coward than to remain a part of the herd. If you do not do something for fear of being called a coward, you only prove your accusers right. This process that Mr. Jewell has been bearing at the behest of the protocol of the military is sought to answer the question of why, if it is to be believed, he is a conscientious objector. It is sought to determine if he is sane, as if you should want to send him to war if he was insane. It is sought to determine whether his beliefs are genuine. Not once has it asked if the American founders were right to say this nation should not have a standing army. Not once has it asked if the reasons the federal government spends so much money on the military is to defend America or to serve special interests. Not once has it asked if the U.S. military invades countries that never attacked us and stirs up discontent and starts conflicts on dubious grounds to create excuses to spend more money. Not once has it asked why poor men continue to die in rich men's wars. Not once has it asked about the sanity of blind allegiance to a commander, a flag, or a politician. The real question here is not why is Lucas A. Jewell a conscientious objector, but rather why aren't you? Sincerely, Adam Kokesh, USMCR 1999 to 2007. And I hope this makes you realize that despite all of the pressures on you when you're in the military, that you can get out at any time by simply saying, I object. My conscience prevents me from being a part of this system any longer. And I hope you'll share this with anybody who might benefit from hearing this, anybody you know that's on active duty, because, as Albert Einstein said, the pioneers of a warless world are the youth who refuse military service. Thank you very much.
Word hell.
This is your last warning.
Oh shit, I'm 9 inches away from your crotch, and I'm feeling your penis.